Is it really possible to start out with $1,500 and go to over 1 million in less than 2 years? What's up, YouTube? My name is Graylan Stewart. I'm a virtual wholesaler and entrepreneur. If you're new to my channel is all about wholesaling real estate. We do this nationwide, and if you don't know what wholesaling is, in a nutshell, it's talking to a motivated seller, getting a contract on their property at a discount, and then turning around and selling that contract that you have to an end buyer, and then taking the end buyer to closing, and you get paid on that in-between spread, okay? So that's wholesaling real estate in a nutshell. So if you're new to my channel, definitely look at all the videos that I have. There's a lot of content on here, and if you watch them all and you apply what you learn, you will definitely be able to wholesale real estate after all that, okay? So this video, obviously, yes, it is true. You can start out with $1,500 and go to 1 million or more in less than 2 years, okay? I actually did it, so I'm living proof, okay? So I started wholesaling in September of 2018, and I've said this in a couple of my videos, but when I got started, I was doing marketing and advertising and sales, for my own company, and to be honest, I was just getting burned out, okay? And that's when I truly found real estate, and specifically wholesaling. Obviously, I never heard of it before, never heard the term or the word, period, pertaining to real estate. Obviously, I've heard of wholesaling, food companies and different things like that, but I never really thought about what that really meant, okay? Because when you really think about it, almost everything that we own, everything that we have, has been wholesaled at some time or another, okay? Whether it's the food that you buy at Walmart, there was a wholesaler that sold that to Walmart, okay? They didn't produce all that food. They're just kind of the in-between guy. They're the wholesaler almost in a respect, because there's just a couple of steps. Somebody created that food and packaged it and all that stuff, then sold it to Walmart, and then Walmart sold it to us. So ultimately it was wholesaled somewhere along the way. Your dining room chairs, almost everything, if you really think about it, has been wholesaled at some time in its lifetime, okay? So real estate is no different. Yes, you can wholesale houses as well. So that's exactly what I do. Me and my team do that nationwide on a day-to-day basis. That is our number one thing that we try whenever we source our deals. That's the first thing that we think of, is we want to wholesale it, okay? One of the other options that we have is keeping it as a rental or fixing and flipping it, okay? But our main priority is wholesaling real estate. Why? Because that's truly like an ATM. It gives you the cash to do other things. That's really like I do it, or like why I like to do it. And also, there's no risk in it at all, okay? You don't have any of your money tied up into it. And really, your only risk, ultimately, which isn't even a risk, but, morally, is just to the seller to perform on that contract. So that's really what our goal is our goal is to help these sellers get out of a difficult situation and really perform on the contract so that we help them out, okay? So wholesaling real estate, that's exactly what that is. So let me tell you how I did it, okay? So when I first started, I started in September of 2018, saw a YouTube video or two, okay? Discovered it. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I can do this. I'm a sales and marketing person, and this is all this business is, okay? And when you really think about it, on a side note, sorry, another tangent, every business out there, if they're really good at business at least, is just a sales and marketing business, okay? Anything that you do in business is sales and marketing, because without sales, you don't really have anything, okay? And you have to have marketing to get those sales, because the ones that don't, those are the businesses that typically go out of business, because they never did any marketing to bring people in their door or whatever they're doing, okay? So, side note. All right. So when I started, obviously my company that I had, I had already been in business almost 8 years at the time that I discovered wholesaling, okay? So what I did was sell advertising to mom and pop businesses, okay? I had direct mail magazines, I did direct mail postcards, and that kind of thing. That's how I kind of got started in my marketing company, and then that quickly turned into also providing SEO and websites and that kind of stuff too, explainer video, all kinds of things like that, logo designs. But our core foundation to the company was always direct mail. So when I found wholesaling, it made sense for me to go the direct mail route, because there's a lot of ways you can source deals. You can do bandit signs, cold calling, text messaging, RVMs. What else is there? There's radio ads, TV ads, billboards. Wrapping your car, driving for dollars. All these different things. Okay, but direct mail made the most sense for me because I was already good at it and I already understood it, and I already knew that marketing takes time. So I already knew that. Okay, well, if I put some direct mail postcards out there or letters or whatever it is, if I send mail to a motivated sellers list, then maybe after a month or 2 or 3 months even, I'll probably get a deal or two, so it'll be worth it. Okay, so what I did is I found a list, and the list was probably around 2,000 people. It wasn't huge, and it was just a high equity list, and that's all it was, high equity. I think that's the only filter I used. They just had a lot of equity. Okay, and I think I probably did a lot, because if you really do like 70% or something like that, like some people do, that list would be gigantic. So I probably did like almost 100% equity, because I wanted my list to be smaller. So I ended up coming up with a list it was around 2,000, 2,500 people on that list. So I quickly had a website built, because that's what my company did. Went to a local meetup like a few days later after I discovered that. I'm like, hey, maybe I can go mingle and meet some people. And I did end up meeting 18 buyers at that first meetup that I went to, only a few days into the business, right when I started. But anyways, so I did the direct mail. I decided to do letters actually. And at that time, I think they were like 75 cents or 80 cents a letter. They're a little bit higher than postcards because it's a letter that you got to fold and, put in envelopes and that kind of thing. There's extra steps. So they charge a little bit more for it. But it made more sense to me because it's actually a letter that somebody had to open, as opposed to, this is a postcard, I don't want it, and throw it away. So it made more sense to me because I was already used to direct mail. So I went the letter route when I first started. Obviously, like yellow letters, just use like a hand print font. And I used a company out of California. I don't remember their name right off. But anyways, so I ended up doing around 2,000 to 2,500 of these letters. I don't remember the exact number, but I do remember it was around $1,500. Okay, so that $1,500, it actually got me. I think it got me 3 deals my very first mailing, which was crazy because I kind of expected to get none. Because I knew direct mail, which this was almost 3 years ago now. So it's even more difficult to get deals, nowadays on any marketing method because there's so much competition, and that's okay. Competition is good. It keeps everybody, on their toes and trying to hustle a little bit harder. So I'm cool with competition. I always embraced it in my own company and in previous, things that I did in my life as well. So anyways, so I spent around $1,500 to send roughly 2,000, 2,500. It's probably around 2,000 or 2,200 maybe. Letters is what I did. Just a yellow letter. They were super basic, like, I want to buy your house, don't touch it, leave it as it is, I pay cash, buy as is, the whole standard. So I sent that mail out, and I have shared this on a couple videos. I was actually in Las Vegas with my wife walking down the strip when I got my first phone call. And it was I was kind of scared, to be honest, because sure, I was used to talking to business owners, for years about, buying, advertising, that kind of thing. But this was like something completely different. I'm talking to a seller now. They're calling me about their house. So I did take the call while I was walking on the strip. I even remember where I was. I was actually between Hera and the Link, on that little pathway between Hera and the Link Hotel. We were actually walking in that area when I got the phone call, and we were actually staying at the Link, so we weren't that far away. So anyways, I talked to the seller. I was kind of nervous at first because it was my very first call, but keep in mind these sellers are typically more nervous than you are, probably in a lot of cases, if they truly have like a high distress or something like that. So anyways, I asked him, I was like, hey, let me call you right back, So I did. I went to my hotel room, talked to the seller, gave him the whole spiel, and then I ended up calling him back. I think, let me do a little research, and I think I called him back in like 20 or 30 minutes from that point and locked it up over the phone. So actually my very first phone call ended up being a deal, which is probably super rare, I would say. But at the same time, I'm really good at sales because I've done it my entire life, and I was good at convincing, but at the same time they had to have motivation and they had to want to sell, even though they needed to sell. Okay. So anyways, so the way that my 1,500 ultimately ended up scaling me to over $1 million in less than 2 years is simply because of consistency. Okay. Once I found out that that actually worked and I was actually good at it, because really I was doing the same thing that I always done. I just had a different product at this point. I wasn't selling advertising into my magazine anymore. I was selling the idea of me purchasing a house to a seller. I was selling that whole idea of why they should sell to me. Okay. So that's what I did. I stayed consistent. Okay. You can't just do the mail one time and expect deals to keep coming in. Now you will get deals along the way from old mail. So I'm not saying that, but if you want to keep your deal flow going, you got to do it consistently. So not only do you, like, whatever marketing method you end up choosing, which in my case when I started was direct mail. So I did that, probably for 4 or 5 months straight before I added anything else. I shortly added cold callers, which was terrible. And, it was a hard lesson because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to figure out how to scale this thing because I felt like I had a good handle on it. But, I probably tried to scale too fast because I was making 50 to 70 grand every single month from month one. And I wanted to do more. I'm like, I can scale this. I just can't do all these different positions in wholesaling by myself. So that's why I was not frantically, but I was earnestly looking like for the answer, like how do I scale this? And I went down a rabbit hole on this, this whole other thing for a while, which I'll share with you at some other point. But I went the wrong way, when I was trying to figure that out. But really what I did when I started is I stayed consistent. Okay. I kept doing what I knew worked. I kept it simple, right? I did more mail. I kept that on a, I think I was doing it like every 3 or 4 weeks. I was sending another piece of mail of some sort, okay, whether that was a postcard or a letter. And I did do a lot of letters starting out because I felt like that was more effective because it worked on my first mailing. So that's kind of what I stuck with for a while. But ultimately, the way that I went from $1,500 literally to over $1 million and millions at this point, as far as net worth and wholesale fees alone, is simply because I was consistent. I kept doing what I knew worked. If it's not broke, don't fix it. You've heard that saying a million times, and it doesn't ring more true as it does in wholesaling real estate. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Really just staying consistent, doing the deal day in and day out, ultimately is how you become successful. Okay. You can learn to get better and talking to sellers. You can learn, getting good at sales skills and all those things. You can learn the systems and processes later along the way. You learn all those other things along the way. But in the meantime, just stay consistent, keep taking action, and you'll get deals. But do it all the time. Consistency is everything. So hopefully you found value in this. Please like, share, and subscribe. Drop me a comment if you've got anything you want to say to me. I do reply to those all myself. I'd love to hear from you. Also follow me on social media, just Graylan Stewart. I'm on pretty much on Facebook and Instagram mostly. But anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.